Hey there, it's David. Welcome to the last episode of Island Hopping, Season 1, My Journey, Part 3. Over this past season, I have been sharing with you the rules of island hopping, my particular brand of crazy, and now, finishing up today, an introduction to my journey. If you are listening to Island Hopping for the first time, I invite you to go back to the first episode of this season. It's called The Rules. None of this is time-sensitive, it's timeless. And I want to make sure that we are all on the same page at the same time. For all of you who have been with me for this entire season, it's been a blessing. So let's finish up Season 1. Let's go island hopping. The journey to be is an extremely personal thing. Yet your journey to be is set within the context of the larger social constructs of church, work, family, friends, neighborhood, and even the world. I was learning that this journey isn't about what I do, it's about who I am. I learned that I had been living out of the perspective that Christianity, just like any other educational pursuit, was about results. The better I did, the better I would be. As long as I went to church, read my Bible, prayed, and paid, I would be good. And you know what? That system worked beautifully in my life for a while. Because I didn't have to think for myself. All I had to do was follow the rules. All I had to do was be a good boy and try a little harder. At this point in my journey, Christianity was something that I did. It wasn't yet who I was. I needed to be thrown out of the nest, so to speak, in order to finally spread my wings and fly under my own power and on my own journey. I needed to commit my life to the care and control of Jesus, not the care and control of a pastor or a church or my family or my friends or even the world. Just like my realization years earlier that there was a God and that I mattered to Him had opened the door for me to meet and fall in love with Michelle, I also needed to continue my journey through complete surrender to Jesus so that I could receive my calling to ministry. Which leads us to the last part of my journey, a transformation of my heart, literally. See, God prepared me on my journey to be for the next revelation. God wasn't looking for my ability. God was looking for my availability. Until I got things right with God, until I truly made myself available, nothing else would ever be right. I would always have that nagging feeling that I knew there was something more. My relationship with the one who created me and gifted me had to come first. Once that relationship was right, everything else would begin to fall into place. I had learned, and now I was experiencing the truth of the fact that I can be right about Jesus and wrong about everything else, and I will be right. Conversely, I can be wrong about Jesus and right about everything else, and I will be wrong. The power and awe and wonder of this life isn't about what I know. It's about who I know. How could I ever expect to get anywhere in this life if I lived in a constant state of I need something? Sadly, that's where a vast number of people have lived their entire lives, missing out on what God wants to do in them and through them. Too many of us are constantly looking for that next big thing. We're looking for that next grand destination that will finally deliver us the peace that surpasses all understanding. The peace that we all so desperately seek. And we are seeking without ever giving God a second thought. For we believe that God is merely the product of human religion, as opposed to the answer to all our prayers, dreams, and wishes. Now, the blame for this reality doesn't solely fall on each and every individual. For too long, the church, a collection of followers of Jesus, hasn't helped. For we have been so focused on church membership and appearing to be perfect that we have alienated people and turned them off to God. Christianity's focus has been on keeping the church doors open. Faith has been relegated to growing numerically and building new buildings and offering more programs so that we can attract more members. In large part, we have forgotten that God is interested in people and desires to walk with all of their children on their journey to be. God doesn't care about which institutional model of following Jesus you happen to prescribe to at any given point in time. And as followers of Jesus, we have forgotten that we teach by example. We teach by letting people experience who we are. This teaching style is so much more powerful than simply dictating that people do what we say. Instead of simply helping people to be followers of Jesus, we have required people to buy into our Christian franchise. And we shun anyone and everyone who decides to buy into any other franchise. Churches have become competition for each other instead of disciple makers with each other. Well, a while back, I was sitting in the church office when the UPS driver came into the building. This wasn't a big deal, for we often had deliveries at the church. Yet on this day, the reason for the UPS driver coming into the church was very different. When he entered the office, no package in hand, he asked me, "Where's Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church?" To which I told him to go out of the parking lot, make a right, go through the next light, and then he would see the church on his left. He smiled and thanked me. Then he said the words that I will never forget. "I knew that you would be able to tell me, because they're your competition." As he walked out of the building, I was dumbfounded. I didn't know if he was kidding, which would have demonstrated a rather sophisticated theological sense of humor, or if he was serious, and he saw all churches like competing fast food restaurants, all selling burgers, fries, chicken sandwiches, and Coke products, all of us vying for an ever-increasing percentage of market share. To me, that was a gleaming example of the damage done by our tradition of making Christianity about what we do, buildings, budgets, and membership, as opposed to being followers of Jesus who are on a journey to be, in community with other followers of Jesus doing the exact same thing. Your journey to be isn't about what you do, it's about who you are. Understanding that who you are will always dictate what you do, but what you do will never transform who you are. So much in life is about what you do as opposed to who you are. Behavior modification is the name of the game, and I started to wonder why. Well, the short answer is simply this. It's easier. It's easier to modify your behaviors than it is to have your very being transformed. Not only is it easier, it's quicker. Behavior modification can produce immediate results that others can see. The longer answer is much more insidious, a wolf in sheep's clothing, so to speak. When others see modified behaviors, they comment on what they see, which brings a rush of personal satisfaction and a sense of superiority. After all, who doesn't like it when someone sees you and comments about how good you look because you have lost weight or done your hair differently or bought some new clothes? This positive recognition communicates not only affirmation of what you've done, it also communicates a longing on the part of the others to do the exact same thing. A longing to want to lose weight or to get their hair done or to buy some new clothes. In other words, to be just like you. And don't forget that a basic human trait is that deep down you think that the world would be a much better place if everyone was just like you. This realization causes you to believe that because of your modified behaviors, you have somehow arrived and are better off than those around you. When in actuality, all you have done is simply change something that you do. Now, understand, I'm not bashing anyone who has taken the steps to lose weight or improve their appearance through personal hygiene or fashion. My point is that none of this will ever truly change who you are. It will simply change your image, the way you present yourself to the world. And God isn't interested in changing your image. God wants to transform your life. What follows from this reality of a changed image is a misguided drive for recognition, a desire for more and more people to notice how you have changed. For this recognition makes you feel good. And you confuse this good feeling with the peace that surpasses all understanding. You confuse this good feeling with the something that you know deep down you need. Your motivation then becomes this personal gratification through the positive recognition of others. You seek it out, you desire it, you crave it, and dare I say, you worship it. This personal gratification through positive recognition becomes your God. After all, who doesn't want to feel good about what they're doing? This personal gratification motivation quickly degenerates into a self-seeking behavior, doing something so that others will notice you and praise you. Before you know it, the very behavior modification you instituted in order to improve your physical, mental, or spiritual self has become the next behavior that you will need to modify. It's a never-ending cycle of modifying behavior for the right reasons, only to later have to modify those very behaviors because they have gone all wrong. Conversely, transformation of your being is a slower, more secretive process. It's a crock-pot process. Your journey to be isn't a microwave solution. Nobody will see you at the grocery store and comment, "My, how your being has transformed." They will notice your clothes, your waistline, your hair, and your behaviors, but your being is largely hidden from the eyes of the world. Thus, without constant verbal applause, most of us give up on trying to be transformed from the inside out. We resign ourselves to the constant cycle of behavior modification. We live in a constant state of searching for that elusive more that we know is out there, the more that we believe we can achieve through personal gratification. After all, the applause that we receive because of our changed behaviors does make us feel good, and for too many of us, feeling good is good enough. For this reason, I decided to redefine the word change in my life. Yes, I know that change is the only constant in my life. Yes, I know that change I must and change I will. But I realized that change in my life could no longer mean simply changing my behaviors. I needed to go deeper and to think of change in terms of my being. Thus, I began to define change in my life as my journey. Whenever I find myself thinking about any kind of change in my life, I think of it as a journey, not a destination, not something that I will do or that I have to do. I think of change as a journey, something that I want to do in order to be someone new. Well, I believe that we are all on a journey. We're all seeking to find out who we are and desiring to be that person in front of the entire world. Many of us have the greatest respect for people who are authentic, people who are true to themselves in every situation, even if we don't like who they are. We find peace in knowing that someone is not simply portraying themselves as someone they think we want them to be, or someone that the world has told them that they should be. I realize that if I focus on change, I will fall back into the life patterns of behavior modification that will betray who I truly am. But if I focus on a journey, I will establish a pattern of movement in my life. Movement that will be built on the authenticity of being me. No longer will I worry about who others think I should be. I will simply become comfortable in my own skin. I will simply be me. Change references a beginning and an end, a point out in space to which you strive to occupy. In other words, a destination. A journey references a process of being, a point in the present that is simply one more step into the future of who you are. Change never leaves me in the now, because change by its very nature seeks to become what it isn't. A journey leaves me in the here and now, because in order to get to where I'm going, I need to fully experience all that I am right now. Change is something that all of us do. Being on a journey is who all of us are. Being a follower of Jesus isn't my destination, something that I do. It's a description of who I am. For knowing implies a journey. I know that I am a child of God who follows Jesus. Conversely, change implies the seeking out of a future destination, a point in time and space, a goal that I hope to one day occupy or achieve. Being a follower of Jesus means that I follow Jesus. It has nothing to do with what church I attend. It has nothing to do with how many scripture passages I've memorized. Being a follower of Jesus has nothing to do with a destination like heaven someday. For following implies a journey, living my life as a complete version of me in this time and in this place. Abraham had to leave his home to father a great nation that he would never see. Moses had to leave Egypt to travel to a promised land that he would never see. Isaiah wrote about a Messiah that he would never see. Paul wrote about the end times that he would never see. Biblical history is full of journeys, not destinations. Why would I expect it to be any different for me? Life isn't different for any of us, but we have all fallen into that same old trap of doing. Christianity has become a list of do's and don'ts. Being a Christian is more about what church you attend, what political party you support, what you believe about homosexuals or abortion or the death penalty, than it is about your journey of following Jesus and being all that God has created you to be. Well, it's time that we all take a step back. It's time that we all take a deep breath and realize that Jesus didn't come to start a new church or a new religion. Jesus came so that we would follow His lead, so that we would embark on our very own journey to be. This new perspective will be so important when life throws you a curveball, for you can't do yourself into being a better curveball hitter. You have to be a better curveball hitter. The former will cause you to be too rigid, stiff, and inflexible. Your eyes will stay locked on your next destination, as opposed to the curveball that is headed your way. The latter will allow you to stay loose and flexible, being in the moment, in the here and now, so that you can roll with the punches and see the curveball coming your way. Well, I know the power of this perspective firsthand. For it was May 8th, 2019, and Michelle and I were at Tampa General Hospital for my monthly checkup. See, I had severe heart failure. I was wearing a pump on my hip that gave me medicine 24 hours a day in order to keep my heart functioning. And I was functioning. I was working, I was living my life, and I felt relatively good considering my heart troubles. Going to Tampa once a month was our normal at this time in life. Sometimes I had to stay in the hospital for a few days. Sometimes I came home and back to life I went. That's why Michelle was with me for every visit. Well, this visit was different. After the normal battery of tests, my doctor came into the room and told us that I couldn't leave the hospital until I got a new heart. My condition had deteriorated so much that he felt that I was in danger of suffering from kidney and or liver damage because my heart just wasn't able to pump enough blood efficiently. Want to talk about a curveball? Yet, you think that I should have been expecting this, that I should have been ready for this. After all, my doctor had been telling me for a year that I was going to need a heart transplant at some point. Once again, another of the many reasons why I have stopped shoulding on myself and others. For I wasn't ready. Yes, I knew that this was a possibility, but I believed that God would heal my heart. More truly, I believed that I could do my way into God healing my heart. I believed that I could pray my way into God healing my heart. I believed that I could positive think my way into God healing my heart. I believed that I deserved God to do such a dramatic miracle in my life. For after all, I was doing what God wanted me to do. I was a pastor. Do you hear all of that doing? And this is coming from the same guy who had written about, preached about, and taught classes about the journey to be. the power of being over doing. Yet there I was, swinging and missing this curveball, because I was still caught up in doing and destinations, as opposed to being and following. Stuck between the way that I wanted it to be, a destination, and the way that it was, my journey. Unable to see the miracle of God and the hand of God in this very moment. For I found myself a new member of a very small group of individuals, people who would qualify for and would receive a new heart. I was so caught up in my disappointment of missing my desired destination of having my heart miraculously healed, that I was missing the miracle of the gift of modern medicine that made a heart transplant a viable option for my healing. I had just been accepted into a very prestigious institution, Ivy League in fact, that would literally save my life. And I was all wrapped up in missing the destination that I had created for my life, a destination that wasn't a part of God's plan. Well, it took me 5 days to get out of my funk and for God to finally break down my wall. It then took a month and a half more for me to receive the perfect heart. Then it took 10 days for me to be home sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And finally, it took 3 months for me to be back in the saddle again, preaching and teaching. If that isn't a miracle, I don't know what is. God has given me a new life, and to think that I was upset because God didn't do my healing the way that I wanted God to do my healing. Hopefully, you're starting to understand why I talk so much about the journey as opposed to a destination. That's one of the reasons why I am who I am and why I do what I do. Island hopping is an individualized map that can be utilized throughout your entire life. Island hopping is meant to be a guide on your journey, a guide to help you become all that God has created you to be. The foundation of this journey is your relationship with Jesus and with those around you. In order for any of us to truly be all that we were created to be, we must have an intimate relationship with the one who created us to be. Island hopping will open the door for you to do just that. The purpose of all of this isn't to tell you what to do. The purpose is to help you to be open to who God has created you to be. Because in being who God has created you to be, you will find yourself doing exactly what God intends for you to do without even trying. And that's the goal, for you to be so plugged into God that you won't need to worry about what you're doing, because who you are will take away all of the guesswork. You will gain the confidence to be all you can be for God and for those in your life. There's no prior experience needed to qualify for this journey. All you need is the willingness to allow God to lead you through the islands, and for you to be open to being who God has created you to be. Your journey to be isn't intended to replace your participation in a church, but it will radically alter your view of your participation in a church. You will see the possibilities of what a relationship with others who are living out their very own personal journeys can be. This journey will leave you frustrated at times, but your frustration is a very important part of the process. Don't fight the frustration. Lean into it. Only through frustration can true transformation take place. For nobody decides that they want to be someone different until they experience the full depth of being frustrated with who they are. Remember, this journey is about listening and following, for that is who you are. This journey isn't about controlling, for the need to control is a byproduct of your focus on doing. Patience is the byproduct of living your life as a journey. And what's the rush anyway? Your need to rush is a vestige of your old way of change and doing that is focused on destinations. Patience is about living into the moment and realizing that no matter how hard I try, the only thing that I can truly control in this life is myself. So, today, make the choice to listen, to follow, and to be patient. that's a wrap for Season 1 of Island Hopping. You now know the rules, you have been introduced to my particular brand of crazy, and you have some insights into my journey. The rest is up to you. In Season 2 of Island Hopping, we will be exploring our very first island. I need something. So until we meet again, may you get good at hitting curveballs.
Oh, I go.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hey there, it's Bria. Island Hopping is a production of Journey to Be Ministries and is sponsored by Beneva Christian Church. You can find Beneva Christian on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as their website, benevachristian.com. If you'd like to contact my Uncle David, just drop him an email at islandhoppingpodcast@gmail.com.